some money for, the intention of leaving some wealth for your children. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said when he visited Sa'd, I think Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, when he said, Ya Rasulullah, I want to donate like 2/3 of my money, right in his will, that 2/3. He said, no, that's not. Half of mine. He said, no, don't do that. How about 1/3? He said, 1/3 is also too much, but it's okay. So the maximum we can donate, to write in our will to go as a donation before the distribution of the rest is 1/3. And then the Prophet said, إِنَّكَ إِنْتَظَرْ أَبْنَاءَكَ أَغْنِيَاءَ خَيْرٌ مِنْ أَنْ تَذَرَهُمْ عَلَى يَتَكَفَّفُونَ النَّاسِ. So to leave your children with sufficient money is better than leaving them in need for people's help. That Islam is very practical. So it's not about this mistrust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or anything, but it's always good to leave some money for your children. So you don't want your children to beg people and ask people to help them. Right? But this does not lead necessarily to so much worry about the future, because ash-shaytan ya'idukum al-faqr. Allah said that ash-shaytan will always cast fear in your heart, makes you worry. And this worry actually is more than perhaps the pain that poor people are facing. So if you look at poor people, see their life is miserable. And some wealthy people, their life is miserable not because they don't have, but they are worried about the future. As this a poet said, وَمَنْ يُنْفِقِ السَّاعَةَ فِي جَمْعِ مَالِهِ وَخَافَةَ فَقْرٍ فَالَّذِي فَعَلَ الْفَقْرُ. I will say it again. وَمَنْ يُنْفِقِ السَّاعَةَ فِي جَمْعِ مَالِهِ. Those who spend sa'ad, spend all their time working and working and working, making more money and more money. وَخَافَةَ فَقْرٍ, out of fear of poverty, what he's doing is poverty. And this is true. Some people are wealthy enough, alhamdulillah, but because of their fear of the future, they are suffering. So making money is not making them happy. In fact, it's making them more worried about the future. So الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء. Shaitan always, try to scare you in the future and not spend and worry always about your family and so on. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu was one day was not feeling good, he was sad, and the Prophet ﷺ told him, لا تكثر همك, don't worry so much. ما قدر يكن, what is written for you will happen. وما ترزق يأتيك, and your risk will come to you. So much worry is not going to increase your risk. If this is the case, it's okay to worry, because the problem is worry does not help. And sometimes people kill themselves and ruin their life, not because they are going through a problem, but they are expecting a problem. They worry so much about problems. So if you are not going to be happy because you don't have what you want now, then you'll never be happy, because you always need something. We are always in need. We are always in need. So Imam Ghazali is emphasizing this importance of thiqah, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also al-ijmal fi talab. Al-ijmal fi talab means that you seek your living, rizq, work, be a hard-working person, but don't worry so much about the future, because in the end we will need Allah's help. We need Allah's help. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. If you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be dutiful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah will take care of you. Don't worry about this. Be mindful of Allah, Allah will take care of you. Imam al-Hasan Basri had this is a nice story. Imam al-Hasan Basri was one of the greatest scholars of his time, and he is known also as a scholar of the text and the scholar of the nafs, yani tazkiyah al-nafs. He has a servant, his name is Habib. He was not an Arab actually, but he came and he's working for the Imam. And one day the Imam came with some guests and they were very hungry and tired. And he said, "Ya Habib, please bring the dinner quickly, or so hungry." And he said, "Imam, I prepared the dinner for you, but these poor people came and asked for sadaqah, and I gave them everything." So the Imam told him, "Well, why did you do that?" He said, "Because I heard you saying the iman will not be complete, the iman of a person will not be complete until he has more trust in what's in Allah's hands than what's in his own hands." Right? So Imam Hassan told him, your yaqeen is strong, but your fiqh or knowledge is weak. So why didn't you give them half of it and keep the other half for us? No food, bad news. And soon after this conversation, someone knocked the door of the Imam's house, and Habib went and said, "Okay, this the neighbor, your neighbor so and so sent this food as a gift for you." So Habib came with this food to the Imam and said, "Okay, Imam, I'm afraid that you have a lot of knowledge, but you don't have enough yaqeen." I said, "Yeah, you are right." The third point he mentioned here is that he connected the qana' or contentment with dignity, and greed with humiliation. Because when you always look at those who have more than you, then you'll always like to be like them. And people sometimes they do things that they're not supposed to do, right? To be wealthier. And he said, "Al-tama' la yakhlu min dhul." Tama' means greed. It's always associated with dhul. That's why it's haram in Islam for people to go and beg and ask people. Rasulullah said, why would you put yourself in such position? اليد العليا خير من اليد السفلى. The upper hand is better than the lower hand. Meaning that the hand that gives is better than the hand that takes. So he said, "وليس في القناعة إلا ألم الصبر عن الشهوات والفضول وهذا ألم لا يطلع عليه إلا الله." He said that contentment is not easy. He said it's painful. When you look around and see people have much more than you have, and you don't look at this and be content with what you have, it's painful. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if someone does not have children at all, and every time he sees a child, then he feels that I wish I had a child, right? Similarly, when most of the people have something and this person does not have it, then it's painful sometimes, right? And that's that pain. Nobody knows about this pain except Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Sometimes you look at people that are smiling and talking about there's all the pains, a lot of pain inside them. So this contentment, it requires some effort, and it's painful to just be patient. Say, "Alhamdulillah, I'm happy with what Allah gave me." Right? And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala reward for this patience. It's not easy sometimes. And the Arab poet said, when we talk about hurriya last week and freedom, he said, "Al-hurru abdun ma tama' wal-abdu hurrun ma qana'." Al-hurr means the opposite of slave. Okay, so the free man is a slave as long as he's greedy and as long as he looks at what others have. In other words, this enslaves him. So this free man becomes slave as long as he looks at what people have. وَالْعَبْدُ حُرٌّ مَا قَنَعَ. Slave is free person when he has qana', contentment. All right. So this is another way of looking at slave versus free person. In other words, if someone is free, technically is free, but he's the slave of money, slave of greed, then he becomes a real slave. And if a slave is content with what he has, then he's hur, he's free. And this is another way of looking at freedom. Because sometimes we feel we're free, but many people don't understand that they're not really free. Privacy and freedom, some actually argue it's part of the past. You know that what happened with Google and Facebook and all these giants? They know everything, and they sell you. You are a product. You are not a consumer. You are a product yourself. They know everything about you. Your religion, race, what you like to, songs you like to hear, what movies you want to watch, what products everything. Everything is known and sold someone else who will try to sell you something. So when we cannot say no to ourselves, want to buy this, I want to get this, I want to have this, then we become slaves to these things. We become slaves to these things. So he said, عز المؤمن استغناؤه عن الناس. عز المؤمن, عز the dignity and the honor of the believer is not to be in need to anybody. استغناء. The other hadith, if you want Allah to love you, then don't love this dunya so much. And if you want people to love you, don't love what they have. It is clear?
Mm-hmm.
When you don't really enslave yourself to these things, Allah will love you. Because if you love dunya so much, then this would reduce the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you love Allah so much, don't worry so much about dunya. إِذْهَدْ فِي الدُّنْيَا يُحِبُّكَ اللَّهُ. Zuhd means abstinence or to be above. Dunya is good for Allah will love you. If you want people to love you, don't ask them for anything. Because when you ask even your best friend, your relative, once they may actually give you what you want. You ask second time, they will be reluctant about. But third time, no, enough, man, that's it. So they said that فالعبد فالله يغضب تركت سؤاله وبني آدم حين يسأل يغضب. So Allah gets upset with you when you don't ask Him, and people get upset with you when you ask them. Right? If you don't make dua to Allah, Allah wants you to keep praying, to ask more. لا تسألن بني آدم حاجة وسل الذي أبوابه لا تحجب. لا تسألن بني آدم. Don't ask people for your need, and ask the one whose doors are always open. Allah will be upset with you if you don't ask Him, and people will be upset with you when you ask them. Right? الله يغضب إن تركت سؤاله وبني آدم حين يسأل يغضب. Right? The fourth thing, Imam Ghazali said that helps us actually to not be greedy and stingy, and the love of money becomes actually an obstacle in our way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said the fourth thing is look at the Anbiya of Allah and their awliya and Khulafa al-Rashidin, how they live their life, and look at the ignorant, atheist, wealthy people. And you ask yourself this question: would you prefer to be wealthy and ignorant, or wise and knowledgeable and poor? Now I ask my kids this question right away. You would like to be ignorant and wealthy? Even Muslim, they said ignorant, wealthy Muslim, and believe me, there are plenty. And poor, wise Muslim. Which one would you prefer? Poor, I mean, not extremely poor. I mean, like having decent life, knowledge and wisdom and iman, or to be extremely wealthy with ignorance? The answer should be clear, because the prophets and the awliya of Allah, all of them were perhaps with the exception of Sulaiman and Dawood alayhi salam, who were kings. And also Sayyidina Shu'aib alayhi salam also was a wealthy person. But to most of the Anbiya and the Awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali ibn Abi Talib, these people could have lived, very comfortable life. But we know how they lived their life. So, which group that you would like to be part of or belong to? And then he talked after this about the virtue of generosity and giving. I mentioned so many hadith and ayat and stories. We'll mention some of them, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the hadith, خُلُقَانِ يُحِبُّهُمْ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Two virtues or characters Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, and two Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates. The two that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves is that حُسْنُ الْخُلُقْ وَالسَّخَاء. حُسْنُ الْخُلُقْ, and especially السَّخَاء. السَّخَاء means generosity. And the two is سُوءُ الْخُلُقْ وَالْبُخْلِ. That character especially stinginess. وإذا أراد الله بعبد خيرا استعمله في قضاء حوائج الناس. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to reward, want to be good to someone, He will use him to satisfy the need of the people. And subhanAllah, I remember growing up, some people, when you need something, just go to this person. Not necessarily money. This physician actually is in our neighborhood, that people always like to go to him. They want a recommendation of good heart doctor, so he always just help people. This family have crisis, then they send them money. Sacrifice 2 cows in Eid al-Adha and give it to the poor people. People go to him 24/7 when there's emergency, and he goes and always there to help. He loves to help. خَيْرُ النَّاسِ أَنْفَعُهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ in the hadith. The best of people are those are most helpful to people. So when Allah uses you as instrument of helping people, that's a great bounty, blessing. To be there to serve others. And one of the first statements the Prophet made when he entered Medina, he said, أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ أَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامَ وَأَفْشُوا السَّلَامَ وَصِلُوا الْأَرْحَامَ. أَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامَ means feed those who are in need. Feeding hungry people is one of the greatest deeds one can do. And the hadith also, إِنَّ اللَّهَ جَوَادٌ يُحِبُّ الْجُودِ وَيُحِبُّ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful and He loves beauty. Allah is so generous and He loves generosity. Allah is merciful and He loves those who show mercy to others. إِنَّ اللَّهَ جَوَادٌ يُحِبُّ الْجُودِ. جَوَادٌ يُحِبُّ الْجُودِ. Allah is generous and He loves generosity. So when you are generous, you are doing something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. And we all know how generous was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and this was one way of leading people to Islam. And this is another sign of the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. False prophet that is, people who claim prophets are not generous. They claim prophet for their own personal benefit. But Muhammad's life sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from the beginning to the end, was a life of a person who loves to give. The person who loves to give. He could live excellent, comfortable, luxurious life, but his lifestyle was life-giving. And we know the story mentioned many times when, after the battle of Hunayn, all these bounds of war, he distributed, he gave. So many people. And this guy came and asked the Prophet, just give me something. And he said, go, see all these animals in this valley? It's yours. And he thought the Prophet was making fun of him. He said, no, I'm serious. It's yours. Go and take them. So this man went and he collected all these animals and took it back to his tribe and said, people, go to Muhammad. He does not feel poverty. He does not feel poverty. Just go and ask him whatever you ask him, he'll give it to you. In the hadith also on Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu, إِنَّ السَّخِيَّ قَرِيبٌ مِنَ اللَّهِ. The generous person is close from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, close from people, close from Jannah, far away from the hellfire. And the stingy person is far away from Allah, far away from people, far away from Jannah, and close from the hellfire. Wal-'iyadhu billah. Allah loves generous people. Right? Allah loves those who are generous. And people love generous people. Right? تَدَثَّرْ بِالسَّخَاءِ فَكُلُّ عَيْبٍ كَمَا قَالُوا يُغَطِّيهِ السَّخَاءِ. If someone has a lot of bad habits, bad character, but just generous, he's ignorant, maybe he's loud, maybe he gets angry, but he's known to be generous. Believe me, people forget all these bad things. I remember him as a generous person. Generosity overcomes. Imam Shafi'i said that. If you have all these kind of bad stuff, just be generous, and generosity will take care of all this. It will wash it away. People love generous people, right? Right? That's natural. People love those who donate and give and share, even if they have so many other bad characters. Sakha will cover all these things. And they said also, Isna al-ma'rufa fi ahlihi wa fi ghayri ahlihi. Do good things, good deeds, to good people who deserve it, and even those who do not deserve it. Because if they don't deserve it, you deserve to give. Imam al-Husayn radiallahu anhu وارضاه. Imam Hassan ibn Ali, son of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Fatima al-Zahra radiallahu anhu. One time in his meeting, someone came and wrote a message to him. They put it write it in a piece of leather, and they roll it, and he gave it to him. And Imam al-Hassan said, okay, you got what you're asking for. And some people, the friends of Imam al-Hassan, they just blamed him, said, why didn't you grant him whatever he had without reading it? Maybe he's asked, you know what he said? You know what he said? Look at this kind of akhlaq, yani. Akhlaq, yani, subhanallah. And Imam al-Hassan is this akhlaq nubuwwah, yani, coming from the grandson of the Prophet. You can see the prophethood touch in it. He said, when his friends blamed him for just giving him or granting him what is written in this massive, before even opening it, he said, I'm afraid that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask me about his humility before me while I'm reading the message. It takes too long, and the guy has to wait for me to read this and then to think about whether I'll give it to him or not. He doesn't want to make this time long. He wants to just, okay, I will give it to what you ask for. Done. Because he knows this man is putting himself in. He is in need. He needs something. So I don't want to prolong the process. Because it's painful for him. Longer, the more painful. So I want to make this process as short as possible. I don't want him to wait. I'm afraid Allah will ask me about ذل مقامه بين يدي حتى قرأ. Maybe I prolong the process too much. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, also from Ahlul Bayt, radiallahu anhum wa ardahum ajma'in, he said, لا مال أعوى من العقل ولا مصيبة أعظم من الجهل. There's no wealth greater than aql, hikmah. That's a real wealth, right? ولا مصيبة, مصيبة, crisis, you know what مصيبة? Why did we say it in Urdu?
مصيبة.
Right, مصيبة.
Yeah.
It is مصيبة, تاء مربوطة. In the end we turn it into ha, right?
But in Urdu we turn it into ta.
تاء مفتوحة.
Ta مفتوحة.
مصيبة. هي عناية, مصاحة, وجاهة. All these. It ends with ta. We say وجاهة.
Ta marbuta becomes ta.
مفتوحة, yeah. رحمة.
Yeah, exactly.
In Tajweed, like رحمة الله وبركاته عليهم. أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة.
Yeah.
We don't say ورحمة.
No. When they read from Arabic, they read like rahmah. But when it is spoken in Urdu, it is rahmat.
Right. I think in Turkish also, they say the same thing, right? How do you say rahmat?
Yeah.
Rahmat. Iffat. So. Huh?
Musibat.
Musibat. But musibat is plural or singular?
No, it's plural.
Musibat. One.
Same in Turkish. There's no plural.
Oh, okay. Musibat.
Musibat, yeah.
Musibat. The long
No,
vowel.
it is musibatain. The plural form is musibat become musibatain.
Musibatain?
Yeah,
In Urdu.
at the end.
Two.
No.
Muthanna or jama?
Jama.
Jama.
Musibatain.
Yeah.
Musibatain.
Like noon gunna at the end, not
Musibatain.
No,
musibatain.
not it's nun gunna musibatain.
Musibatain.
Yeah.
Okay. That's called muthanna in Arabic anyway. Musiba, musibatain, masa'ib. The plural is masa'ib. Right? I don't know. Musibatain. So, he said, لا مصيبة أعظم من الجهل. There's no musibat greater than ignorance. It's the greatest musiba.
And what was the other piece he said? Imam Ja'far Sadiq?
Imam Ja'far Sadiq, yeah. He said, no wealth greater than aql.
Okay.
And no musibat greater than jahl.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why the aql and poor is better than wealthy and ignorant. Now, these people, wallahi, they have the hikmah and the knowledge and the wisdom and life experience. So these statements, we are reading this statement of that been made now hundreds of years, more than 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Because a piece of wisdom, you know. So this man, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, he said, my father inherited 50,000 dirham. 50,000 dirhams is a big amount of money. And he divided them into, they used to put this, these coins in bags made of clothes. Right? They call it surra. It's like the size of a big apple or orange, like surra.
Like a sack.
A sack, yeah, it's a sack. So he kept making these sacks, taking money and putting them and sending them to his friends. And again, some people told him that, that's too much, giving to your friends and brothers. And you know what he said? He said, I sincerely ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant these people Jannah. I ask Allah to give them Jannah. So why should I not give them something that's much less than Jannah? So, logic of generous people, right? Stingy people have their own logic, by the way. But this is the logic of someone who said, if I want them to be happy in Jannah, in this dunya, this is what I can offer them. So I'm just giving them. Plenty of stories now Ghazali mentioned, mashallah. I'll just share maybe one or two of them. He said that Durra was the name of the lady that who was serving Aisha radiallahu anha, and after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And his Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan, he sent Aisha radiallahu anha غرارتين, or two sacks of money, 80 or 180,000 dirham.
Wow.
And she put all of them in like a big, what do you call it, like a tray. And she did the same thing. So she called her servant Durra, and she divided them, and she kept sending them as sadaqat. And when they were done, she told her, bring my food. She was fasting, just about Maghrib, so bring our iftar. And she brought some khubz, bread, zayt, oil. When the word zayt mentioned, it means olive oil. فقالت لها Durra, she told her, so you have spent, you divided all this money and gave it right and left. Why didn't you just give 2 dirhams to buy some meat for us? And Aisha told her that if you reminded me, I would have done this, but you did not remind me, so let's eat whatever is available. Aisha, the daughter of a Siddiq of this ummah. This is the tarbiyah of Abu Bakr Siddiq, radiallahu anhu wa. The second story is the story of Al-Hasan al-Husayn and Abdullah ibn Ja'far. They are all cousins. They are cousins of Al-Hasan al-Husayn. Hasan al-Husayn brothers, and Abdullah ibn Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. So Hasan al-Husayn are the children of Ali, and Abdullah is the son of Ja'far. And Ja'far and Ali are brothers. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. Ja'far al-Tayyar. Tayyar, who was, the Prophet said when he died in the Battle of Mu'tah, Allah replaced his hands with wings. He can fly wherever he wants. So they called him Ja'far al-Tayyar, flying. They went one year for Hajj, and they ran out of food and water and so on, and they found this tent, and this lady was there, and they asked, do you have any food? And she said, nothing but this old goat, and go and milk her. And they milked her, and they took some milk, asked her. And she said, I don't have except this, so we can slaughter this, and I'll make some bread for you. So they slaughtered this goat, and they gave it to her, and she cooked some food, and she fed them, and they ate. And they told her that we are people from Quraysh. So we have nothing actually to offer you now, but we hope that one day we will see you and reward you for this. And they left. Or if you come to us in Quraysh, we will give you something. Then her husband came back, and he was very upset with her. You just slaughtered this, the only sheep we have, and you give it to people that you don't even know their names. And he was very angry at her. After a while, they had to go to Mecca, this lady and her husband, and Imam al-Hasan saw this lady. Well, she did not recognize him, but he recognized her. And then he called her. And he said to her, don't you remember me? She said, no. He said, remember that day when we came? And he said, yes, is it you? He said, yes, it's me. Come to my house. And he gave her, it was very generous to her, and then he gave her 1,000 dinar and give her 1,000 sheep. And then he said, that's not it. Go to my brother, Al-Husayn. And he sent his servant. He said, go to Al-Hussein. This is the family of the Prophet ﷺ. So Al-Hussein did the same thing. He welcomed her and he was very generous to her. He said, how much did my brother give you? He said, 1,000 sheep and 1,000 dirham. He said, okay, here's another 1,000, another 1,000 dinar or dirham, and another 1,000 sheep. And that's not it. Go to Abdullah ibn Ja'far. And he sent his servant, and she went to Abdullah ibn Ja'far. And he did the same thing. He welcomed her, was very thankful to her, and said, how much did Al-Hasan give you? She said that every one of them gave me 1,000 sheep and 1,000 dirham. And he said, Wallahi, if you came to me first, I would have very difficult on them. So he gave her 2,000 sheep and 2,000 dirham. So she went to her husband with 4,000 dirham and 4,000 sheep. Subhanallah. هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان. I will stop here, inshallah, and continue next week. Inshallah. And next week we'll talk about condemning stinginess. The opposite of what we talked about today. Inshallah. Any comments or questions? It's 9:30 today?
9:32.
Just have a little comment about
Yes.
the story of Imam Hassan, may Allah be pleased with him. When he didn't want somebody to wait, and Sufyan ibn Uyayna, when he gave the money to people, he was asking Allah for them to Jannah. I feel there is a piece of haya in there. That's the haya.
Haya.
There is a piece of haya in there.
Shyness.
No. In their reaction, that Al-Hassan was shy to
Right?
let somebody wait. That's haya min al-iman. They are practicing this.
Absolutely. Haya, shyness, is part of an iman. Yeah. Absolutely. It's good actually to be sensitive or understand the sensitivity of of the situation that people are in. When someone places his hope on you, and you can't help but you just, it's bad. You know, when someone, it's enough. You know, this brother whose brother came to him, his brother in Islam came to him, and he knocked his door. It was late at night, and he welcomed him. And I said, I want to talk to you about something. Oh, yeah, what is it? He said, you know, I have a situation, and I, you know, I have some needs, and I lost some money here, and so on. I said, of course. And he went and he gave him more than what he asked for. And when his friend or brother in Islam left, this horse cried, and he's watching. Are you crying because you gave him money? He said, no, I'm crying because I should have given him before he asked me. I shouldn't have put him in this position. I should have helped him avoid this situation. You know? So this is a high level of ihsan and iman. People have feeling of others. And this is really Islam. Islam wants to produce this kind of people, not those who just go and kill and cut heads and throw people in fire. It's important. It's important, you know, to be aware of what others. Any comment or question?
I have a question. We were talking about donating money, and you said the maximum you can donate is 1/3 based on the hadith. And we also talk about Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. So can you apply that across the board? Or there, like if somebody is super wealthy like Bill Gates, is that still 1/3?
But 1/3 here, technically, it refers to the tarika. Tarika is what you leave behind. So while you're alive, you have the freedom to do whatever you want with your money. But if you write a will when I die, and everybody, by the way, should write a will, no matter how much you have, because everybody has something, basically. Everybody should write his will if he is in debt to someone or if he wants to donate some part of money. So Quran talked about mirath, inheritance, and Quran emphasizes repeatedly, من بعد وصية يوصى بها أو دين. If you read the ayat of Surah Nisa about inheritance, it repeatedly, the Quran says, من بعد وصية يوصي بها أو دين. من بعد وصية يوصين بها أو دين, women. Or من بعد يوصى بها أو دين. يعني, when someone passes away, we'll look at his will. Let's say he left, let's say $50,000, okay? And he has his wife and son and a daughter. Let's just make it simple. So the wife gets 1/8, and the remaining will be divided into 3 parts. The boy will get 2, the girl will get 1, right? But he can also write, I want up to 1/3 of my money goes to IAGD, for example. And then they found out that he bought something and he's paying, payments, and the remaining payments are, let's say, $2,000 or so. What we do, we take these $2,000 debt out of the $50,000 he left, and the will he wrote out, and then the remaining is given to his wife and his son and his daughter. And this applies. What if someone did not write any will? Is a mirath and wasiyah. Islam differentiates between mirath and wasiyah. Mirath is what you leave behind. Wasiyah is this 1/3, that up to 1/3. You can write for any donation. That's for yourself, actually. Okay, all right. So what if someone wrote in his will more than 1/3? The ulama said more than 1/3 is not good, and others said no. If the inheritors agree that our father wants to do this, okay, I give up my right, let it be. That's fine. Okay. So in American legal system, it's all wasiyah. It's all wasiyah. That's the difference between Islam and civil law. If someone brought his entire wealth to go to his dog, then it goes to his dog. A person may exclude his wife, his children, his parents from, and he writes his entire wealth to any organization. And whatever he writes, as long as he wrote it legally, then this is what the law says. This is his will. But Islam says no, because originally this money is not your money. Whatever we own, it's not ours. Technically it's ours, but originally it's Allah's. So Allah gave you this money for you to survive, to take care of yourself and the family, but you are not the owner of this money. It's Allah who owns it, and He gives it to you. It's like when you rent something, right? You have the right to use it, but you are not the owner. So that said, whatever money you leave behind, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distributed it. Because your parents, if they're alive, your wife and your children, they have right given to them by Allah, the original owner, and He distributed this. But Allah gave you this space, this room, up to 1/3. Now, if you are alive, we know Abu Bakr gave his entire wealth, 100% of what he has, and the Prophet accepted that. Umar gave 50%, and others gave less or more than half. So when you are alive, then you are responsible how you spend your money. You have to spend it wisely. But when you are gone, the original owner of the money, that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, told us how to divide it. But if you want to say, okay, I want to make sadaqah jariyah. This Dr. Abdul Rauf, who passed away last Monday, we'll talk about today. Dr. Akbar actually told me something that really very inspiring. He said this man was like visionary. He built schools in Pakistan. He, mashallah, was wealthy. He built school, and he wrote in his will that after his death, his wife's death, then their house should be demolished, and they should build 6 stories of apartments, and the revenue that comes from this apartment, rental apartment, goes to the school. So it becomes like running or ongoing sadaqah for him. And very smart. That's a good investment with Allah. This man is making investment with Allah, like Uthman radiallahu anhu. When there was this famine and lack of food, and here is the caravan coming from Syria. And they said the people felt the earth shake from the camels, heavy load coming from Syria. This is all merchants and business people. They came to buy food from Uthman in order to sell it to people because they're running out of supplies. And then all of them came to Uthman. And he said, okay, what's the deal? They said, we'll give you for every dirham, 2 dirhams, like 100% increase. And he said, no, that's not a good deal. That's not good enough. So they said, well, we'll give you for every dirham 3 dirhams. In the original price, time 3. So it must still like that. I got better offer. It was better offer. We are all the people, merchants in Medina. Who else give you? I said I got an offer 1 for 10. And Allah gave me this offer. And all this is sadaqah. I said to Allah, now I'm doing business with Allah. So I'm very smart people. Very smart. Very smart.
He said 1 for 10?
Yeah, they're referring to من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها. Allah said, if you do 1 good deed, Allah will give you 10 in return. This is what it's referring to.
So I got a deed of 1 for 10 from Allah. So
yeah, Allah gave me 10 for 1. So
take it.
Yeah. He knows people are needy. Took advantage of this situation, but of course. So I have a question here. When it's mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves human, besides Rahman is different. We need to study the 99 names of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 99 beautiful names. Man ahsaha dakhala al-jannah. He who ahsaha means count. But here the ulama said counts, meaning knows and understands that the meaning of the 99 names, right? Some of these names, or most of these names, are mentioned in the Quran. Allah talked about Himself. And one of these 99 names is Al-Wadud. Read Surah Al-Buruj. Can you find out the number of the surah? Surah Al-Buruj. Yeah. وهو الغفور. Express his appreciation and love. Because you may love someone, but you don't express your love. Some people, they don't know how to express their love, right? You may love someone, but you don't express this love. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not only love, but He always expresses His love, shows His love. In fact, our very life, our very existence, is a sign of Allah's love. As we mentioned last Friday khutbahs, what was the title? Where is brother? Honoring the children of Adam. That was the title. Honoring the children of Adam. So the word Rahim, Wadud, these two attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rahman, Rahim. He loves mercy. And He's Wadud. Wadud means the one who shows love and expresses love. And unfortunately, we don't talk about this. We all tell Shadidul Iqab, the Tawb. Right? So Allah in the mind of, the image of Allah in the mind of many Muslims is very much deformed. Allah is the in the mind of many people, astaghfirullah, like a dictator, brutal dictator who just like to, No, that's not the case. Ar-Rahman is one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the attribute of his af'al. These are the attribute of the person and the attribute of his actions. You understand? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it comes to mercy, He called Himself Ar-Rahman, right? We read Surah Ar-Rahman, his brother doesn't like it. He said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim ar-Rahman. Right? Sheikh Abdul Basit, has a beautiful tilawah when he recites the end of Al-Qamar and the beginning of Surah. Beautiful. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim ar-Rahman. So Rahmah is part of who He is, subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the adhab is something that expresses His act. You understand? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Himself, نبئ عبادي أني أنا الغفور الرحيم أنا الغفور الرحيم وأن عذابي هو العذاب الأليم. Adhab is not one of the names of Allah. It's not one of His names, al-Mu'adhib, the one who tortures or the one who punishes. The Punisher is not one of the names of Allah. He punishes, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and His punishment is severe. What's not one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the adjective of His action. Inna rahmati sabaqat ghadabi. This is something written on Allah's throne before He created the universe. Inna rahmati sabaqat ghadabi. My mercy supersedes my anger. So Allah is loving because His name is Al-Wadud. Allah is loving because He made us exist, because the fact that we exist is a great blessing. I was talking about this idea in my class last Thursday, that in many, when religion becomes business, then religious institutions sometimes they do what customers want. If you are a good business person, then you know what the market needs, and then you go and buy this product and sell them, because the need is there. This is half of your job. So no, in most church, nobody talks about the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have to be cool and nice and just go and spend good time in church. Adultery is a sin. Is there it out? No. In Christianity, it's a sin. But don't talk about this.
Like today, Pope said that there is no hell.
There's no
Hell. Pope said that today.
There is no hell.
Really?
There is no
Yeah,
hell.
that's the statement.
Today?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
in the
said
in
no
this
hell?
What?
in this. Are you
No, we
sure?
have to really.
No.
That's beautiful.
That's too much.
Yeah, it's in the Friday Good Friday Mass. He said there is no hell.
Is khutbah? Friday khutbah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Friday.
Yeah.
Can call it khutbah? It's khutbah.
Would you call it khutbah?
Of course, khutbah is a speech.
I understand, but it is literal meaning.
Well, linguistically, it's a khutbah.
Sermon is a khutbah.
Yeah. Yes.
Sermon is a good word, I think.
Just to comment
Sermon,
related to the last subject about
Uh-huh.
the attributes of Allah Ta'ala when it comes to loving and when it comes to punishing. I could be wrong, but I didn't come across Allah Ta'ala has sirat mubalagha of ghadab
Yes.
or
That's true.
but when it comes to Rahman and Wadud, there is always comes in sirat mubalagha.
Absolutely. So it is Ghafara, Ghafir. So he's Ghafir, this surah called Surah Ghafir. And more than this, he's Ghafoor. Alright? So, to give you an example, different verb, akala. Akala means to eat, right? When someone eats so much, you call him akul. Akul means that he eats too much. He loves to eat, right? Alright? Or you can say, Akkal. Akkal. Like Ghafoor and Ghaffar, right? Or someone is ignorant. So he's ignorant, he's jahil. But worse than this is Jahul, right? Right? There are 5 صيغ مبالغة يعني فعول, فعال, مفعال, فعيل, فاعل. So this Arabic grammar scholar, someone just act like ignorantly. He said, you are أنت جاهل جهول جهال مجهال جهل. The 5 of them very angry. So Allah is Ghafoor and Ghaffar and Rahman and Rahim. All these 5 applies to His mercy and forgiveness.
But
So,
no,
Imam,
no.
so this was a report, a newspaper reporter said that he went to see the Pope and Pope said that to him.
That's
So, you
not,
know,
not very...
So Vatican then issued a statement to they said, we do believe in hell.
Of course, yeah.
Pope never said that.
Yeah. Journalists say, they like this kind of...
Yeah, so this is a New York Times.
That's not... The Pope cannot do that.